Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Fran Lightman Gibson in conjunction with her Cerulean Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through May 5th. Hi, Fran.
Hi. Hi, Mike and Tina.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity. I love seeing the show. It's beautifully hung, as always.
Yeah,
And
so tell us about the show and yourself.
so this particular one, let's say the one that we're zooming in on right now, I was doing lots of drawings over the last 2 years, a lot of action drawings for myself that included a lot of the elements that I love in general, the city, and also references to art history, De Chirico, and working out a lot of cityscape ideas that I have. And then I went on to paint this one, which had a working title of Expanse, but then it just had a new name called I think we call it Juxtaposition or something. Yeah.
Yes.
And I have lots of different layers and lots of expression. Um, it's sort of talking to me and I'm talking back to it.
So what is it about this city that attracts you?
Well, I am the quintessential Philadelphian. I have to say, I was born here. I went to Philadelphia College of Art, which is UArts. I went to Tyler. I've lived within 10 miles of where I was born. It's kind of odd. And I love the city. I lived downtown for a long time, and this one in particular meant a lot to me because it includes the action of the city, the movement of the cars. There's actually something which I called a figure, and I just was going to call it the figure, but I called it Figure It Out because a lot of these are a little bit abstract, but not totally abstract because I feel that I have to move in both areas when I'm working on these things. And the
So
color,
yeah, so how did you arrive at your style? Because there's a combination of expression, but also linear structure.
well, I've always liked linear structure, and I have a propensity to draw big and a little bit loose. And so when I start, I'm very aggressive with the drawings, and then when I go into the paintings, um, they get a little bit more detailed or subdued, but they definitely have an attitude, I think. This one, I call it Reflections. I might have called that's what I used as a working title.
So
But
reflections on Third Street.
yes, I'm downtown all the time and I'm always seeing the same spots that just tug on my heart. I just feel that area. I've walked that area for my whole life, and I just feel a certain spirituality there, a certain rhythm and music. I'm a music um, historian in that my family were all musicians, and I have a Philadelphia sensibility about sound, jazz, blues, various things about the city. And I just want to apply it by the way I paint. So I don't know if it's seen by anybody else, but I think anybody else could possibly see that it's very active. And it has a suggestion of things. Some things are just suggested, some things are detailed. Um, but it's all in time, and hopefully people like to enter that time.
And this is a like old city
Yeah,
neighborhood.
this is Old City. Although I didn't live in Old City, I lived I lived in Queen Village a lot, but I went downtown early morning, dawn. It was dark, and then the sun hit that bridge, and it was sort of like a holy moment for me. It just you sort of want to say it's rise up, and it gives you strength, it gives you encouragement. It gave me the same feeling. Um, it's a metaphor for victory. It's a metaphor for triumph. It's a metaphor for holding it together. And so I'm downtown taking photographs, but I'm not always downtown drawing. Um, And so there is another moment in the show where it is the drawing and this is the painting, but it's the same ideal, which is a moment in time that is very expressive, but it's also, it connotes a certain kind of passion, I guess you'd say.
And it's the Ben Franklin Bridge, which shows up several times.
I
Yes.
know there's something about the bridge, and this next painting is in Queen Village, and I live near there, and I know this expanse. I walk there all the time. I park my car, I take photographs, I spend a lot of time there. And it is a place where you could just sort of, in a way, use your imagination, be there, get the courage to keep walking. It's actually called Keep Walking. And but the strokes, the action, the subtlety, it's not always architectural, but it is kind of, as we'd like to say, architectonic. There's moments in it that could easily get more, you know, my biggest influence was Mondrian and his early trees that became Broadway boogie woogie, and if I see something that actually moves me, I just, I try to connote the same stuff in as I as I'm feeling. So
Are there other artists that you think about than else in addition to Mondrian?
well, I do, as everybody would say, I do love Cezanne. Cezanne, there's the whole frame does not have to be filled. You leave a little to the imagination or a lot to the imagination and detail certain areas, but not detail other areas. And of course, um, that one drawing with the figure reminded me of Bellini because it's very expressive, and Saint Francis. I think about that drawing while I'm drawing very often. Saint Francis in the field is, just basically saying, um, there's life and there's potential, and and it has to be bright. It also has to be somewhat descriptive, but kind of ephemeral. I
Hmm.
love Caravaggio. I look at a lot of, Kandinsky. I look at a lot of modern artists. Of course, I love them all. But when I'm drawing, I'm actually thinking of either a piece of music, a piece of poetry, or a painting or a painter. So I'm sort of in the moment with all that. I think we're going to slide up to something that was just a little bit more, broken plane-ish, cubist-ish. Maybe it's not Leger, but I think of Leger while I'm doing it as if I just feel it. And so there's movement there, and there's just structure, and there's, sentinel sides to both sides. For some reason, I've just been putting certain elements in there each and every time.
Yes, it's much more abstract.
Yeah, and I would be happy to, like, this small one here, to continue just being more abstract and breaking everything down, suggesting things. These are just as significant to me as anything else I've done. Um, I play with the color, and I like to, make the color tell me something. And when it tells me it's done, that's when I pretty much stop. And
So do you find the medium helps because the more finished works are oil and then these are like charcoal and pastel. So I guess it lets you work a little more quickly.
yes, and that I started all these drawings first. This one is an area in New York, actually. It's called Dumbo, down under the Manhattan Bridge. And I just love that area. Again, I'm not from New York, but I just feel something in that area. It has a lot of action. Again, it has a lot of potential. And then that bridge, we call it emerging, but I could spend all my time doing bridges and structures and seeing if color beats off of them or feeds off of them, or connote, like, again, connotes a certain feeling from it. So this has gouache and charcoal and pastel pencil and things that are, hard. I don't really like to have soft pastels. That's a little too soft. But I do like charcoal. I
So
like hard.
there's a long history of, the urban landscape with Ashcan School and Hopper and up through people like Rackstraw Downs. How do you see yourself?
Well, I see
No.
myself like the next generation because I'm not describing anything. It's not photographic, but it is a mood.
Mhm.
And, I just keep moving forward in my own energy. Um, I want to pay homage to artists and people, but these things are kind of spontaneous and hopefully, I wouldn't say they're abstract expressionism because that connotes a different thing altogether, but um, they're very expressive, I think.
Yes.
And they force the viewer to have an opinion or at least a reaction, I think.
Well, I think it's that, you have to sort it out, like what you're looking at, because there's
Exactly.
familiarity, but it's more or less. So some of them the viewer has to work harder.
I kind of think that's okay because you should be part of it and you should be in the moment as well. And how else are you going to have an experience that is, a challenge or ephemeral or, you know, a metaphor for the vicissitudes of life, so to speak, and it just has to have a lot of passion. It has to require you to get involved in it. So I wouldn't say it's Hopper, but I think about Hopper.
Hmm. Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Anybody dealing with the city. So this one was it a study for the painting?
I didn't consider it a study. It was just an opportunity to just get a lot of energy out. And I just was drawing and drawing and drawing. And I said, but not at the same time doing the painting. It was not even the same time. It wasn't even the same room, but I was doing both at the same time, ultimately. And I waited for them to reveal themselves and to come to some kind of conclusion. And they seemed to work off of each other over time, if that makes any sense.
Yes. And so it looks like you're, in addition to like applying the material, you're erasing too, you're pulling off as
Yes.
a way as a drawing tool.
Yeah, that's a device. It's a tool. I don't always use erasure, but I did apply, gouache on top of things, and I did, um, you know, I don't want to call it mashing up, but there's a certain kind of stumble or bumble or whatever you'd want to call it, where it's going to become something else.
So do you feel you have to have a certain amount of material on and off before it starts to activate the surface?
Exactly. Yeah. It starts to have its own life and starts telling me where to park it myself, basically. And apparently we have something else. Well, that's a drawing I did, and it was sort of the beginning of my. Um, it sort of looks like a photograph that was very faint, and somebody went in there and recreated the area because everything else was washed out. And but I tried to tried to create the area as if it had its, a certain signature about it, the truck, the car, the erasures, of phantom things, suggestions of trees, suggestions of bridge, obviously, horizontals, verticals, buildings.
Well, it seems like it could either be like sun bleached or also like a dream or memory.
Mm-hmm. Yes, when things get washed out, when they're over bleached, a photograph, something that that is the way you remember the city sometimes, unless, you're having dinner somewhere. But that is your memory.
Yeah, it's different when you're outside and it's 90 degrees and
Yeah, and then you have to,
there.
that's when you leave. That's when you try to go somewhere else. But yeah, these things sort of define me, but I can't get enough of them. I continue to do them. And I framed them, I think, a little bit, you know, provocatively, that one with the yellow frame, but I think it deserved to have a little attitude.
Well, it's a great show, Fran.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
I'm very thrilled to be part of this, and I'm beholden to you and Tina. I'm very touched by your attention. Thank you.
oh, well, thank you as well. It's a team effort.
Thank you.
And right, well, thanks again and have a great night.